This video is made possible by Skillshare, more on that later. Building your own website in 2023 is easier than ever, and this is because there are far more ways to do it that are a lot more affordable and a lot easier to achieve. The problem is, as the saying goes, if you give a customer too many choices, the choice they'll usually make is not to buy anything at all. Thus, in this video, I want to give you a quick and simple guide as to how to build your website easily in 2023. We start this with a couple of questions. And the first one's going to be, what is your website for? And I think before you even sit down and look through platforms, look through ideas, look through anything else, that's the question you need to answer. And this is important because there are various different ways, unlimited amount of platforms in reality, and methods to building your website, but depending on what you want to build it for, the path that you go down is very, very different. For example, are you building a blog or news site? Are you building a portfolio? Are you building a simple website for your business? Or do you need a full-scale shop? And a full-scale shop can change as well, because if you're just selling one product, that's very different from selling a mountain of them. So once you've figured out what your website's going to be for, then there are a few different platforms that you can choose. No matter what website you're building, it is possible to build it using WordPress. And we'll explain later how to quickly and easily set up a WordPress website. But just to give you a quick overview, WordPress isn't a platform like the rest on this list that we'll go through in a moment. It is a framework. It's a piece of code, essentially a stack of code, that allows you to create your own website using someone else's tools. And that means, unlike a platform, you also need to pair this with a host, which is basically a server that you can put it on, or a computer in the cloud if you want, and then hook up your domain name, as well as set up the design and everything else from scratch. Now, it does have some pre-built-in features if you want to set up a really simple blog, but it's still going to take some sort of technical ability. If you're looking to create a portfolio or quick and easy page for your business, or perhaps a simple blog or news site, then there is also Squarespace. And Squarespace comes with a much easier path to access because you don't have to worry about hosting or setting up anything technical. In fact, it's just a drag and drop builder, and they'll even sell you a domain name. What's a domain name? We'll explain that later. And Squarespace also is great because, unlike setting up your own WordPress instance, you don't have to deal with security or worry about the idea that you get 1 million people hitting your website and causing it to crash. Squarespace will scale everything up for you. Likewise, there is a similar platform that is dedicated to creating your own shop, and that is Shopify. And while yes, you can set up a shop on Squarespace, if you're going to do anything that is primarily based around shopping, and the shopping experience isn't, let's say, secondary to your blog, news, whatever else it is, then I would highly recommend looking into Shopify, because Shopify is dedicated, as the name probably tells you, to shopping. And it will allow you to get a shop online very, very quickly. It has built-in payment gateways, so you can set up credit card payments, PayPal, and everything else you want, along with an inbuilt list of free themes that'll allow you to make it look like you want. And those themes are dedicated, once again, to shops and e-commerce. And therefore, if you're building something that is just an online store, it's probably the best platform to go with. And there are countless other platforms, frameworks, and so on that you could use. But as a person who's been building websites since I was 13, those three are by far and away, in my opinion, the best three to go with. And unless you have a really niche, specialized need, then I wouldn't look any further. But there is another question before you decide on this that you need to keep in mind. And that is, of course, what are you willing to spend? No matter what platform, framework, or whatever you decide, there will be a cost involved, because at the end of the day, you will need to pay for servers, a domain name, or for the platform, which includes all of those things. And this is where it's important, because there's a trade-off to make here, and that is a trade-off of money versus time. So for example, you can set up a WordPress website for as little as about $3 a month, and on top of that, pay for your domain name just once per year, which is about $8. And that means that for $3 a month or $36 a year, you've got your website online. But the trade-off with this very cheap cost is the fact that you have to set up and do everything yourself. It's not rocket science, and you can definitely learn to do all of this in a couple of hours. but it still means putting in that effort. On top of that, with WordPress, you will need to ensure that it's maintained. You'll have to install security plugins and go through security problems on the site. And on top of that, if you get a massive amount of people hit your website at once due to a piece of content going viral, for example, then you will have to manually move this to a better server or scale up, at which point you'll be paying more per month anyway. Whereas the likes of Squarespace and Shopify, they have drag and drop editors that allow you to literally drag and drop a design together. They will sell you and link the domain name in the process of setting that up. It's all very step by step, easy to do, and just a simple drag and drop experience. On top of that, they deal with all of the issues around security, so you don't have to worry about that. And if 1 million people tomorrow look at your website, they deal with scaling it up. So yes, you'll pay more. For example, I think the lowest cost on Shopify is around $15 a month. So you will pay about 5x the price of the base WordPress site. But you will offset that because with a Shopify site, for example, you build it once and only come back when you're adding content or products. You don't deal with anything else. So what you lose in money, you make up for in time. So this is a decision that's for you to make. What's more important? For example, if you have all the time in the world and you want to build that website, then perhaps save yourself the $12 a month. But if you feel like $12 is not worth an extra 4 to 5 hours a month worth of work, then of course pay the extra. So let's talk about WordPress for a moment, because Shopify and Squarespace are very, very simple and easy to use, and they have step-by-step guides to set up your website. So realistically, if you've decided you're going for Squarespace or Shopify, that's going to be easy for you to do. But I will add one more way that you can make your Squarespace or Shopify site even better in a moment, after I quickly talk about why WordPress is a great idea for certain instances. WordPress is very, very malleable. It's an open source piece of software, and therefore there are thousands of people creating different themes, basically a look and design, as well as plugins which allow you to add functionality. And therefore you can build any type of site that you want with it, from something really simple to something incredibly complex. In fact, some of the biggest websites in the world are built on that WordPress framework. And the reason that you might want to learn how to build this is because it will allow you to build websites for other people, and on top of that, add functionality that you will be limited by if you use a platform. At the end of the day, those platforms are built for a specific set of needs, and once your needs go outside of that bubble, then you're at a loss. You can't add it on like you can with WordPress. So it is something interesting to learn if you're going to be building multiple websites. And that brings me to Skillshare. Skillshare, which I'll link in the description below, has tons of courses which will bring you through how to design, develop, and put your WordPress website online. And there are courses that allow you to do it in 30 minutes. And the great thing about Skillshare is you pay a one-time fee and you can access thousands of courses. It's absolutely brilliant. In fact, I used it to learn how to improve my YouTube game, which, if it's terrible, is probably not great. Anyway, moving on. So support this channel by checking out the Skillshare link in the description below. Now, if you do go ahead and build your website from scratch, you will also need a domain name. And if you're wondering what a domain name is, it's basically youtube.com, for example, is a domain name. Google.com is a domain name. Anything that ends in a .com, .co, .net, .org, that is the domain name that you're buying. And the reason people buy it is simply to make sure that customers, viewers, and so on, readers, can find your website easily. And you can buy your own domain name at tons of different websites like GoDaddy, Black Knight, and a variety of others. One I like to use that I'll put a link in the description below for is Namecheap, because by using that link you'll find tons and tons of different exclusive offers, and they also allow you to buy your hosting. And hosting is the next thing you'll need. Is basically just renting a computer that is connected to high-speed internet access, known as a server. And this means that it's always online. Because, for example, if you were to host your website on your laptop, whenever you close your laptop, no one else can access that website. Whereas a server at a host is always on and therefore can always be connected. And Namecheap, GoDaddy, and so on, like I said, do offer those. And that's where you can find a Namecheap server and a shared hosting, which means there are multiple websites on that computer and you just have your own allocated space you can find for as little as $3. If you want to get WordPress and you've bought a hosting package, then that hosting package will usually have a very simple WordPress installation, and you can ask them where that is. They usually give it to you in a guide anyway once you sign up. However, if your hosting doesn't include that, you can go to wordpress.org and download WordPress for free. And here's the beauty of it, it has a full documentation about how to install it. But the simple steps that you'll need to follow are the following. One, you'll need to install WordPress on your host, like I said, which should just be a one-click install on most hosts. But if not, like I said, head to wordpress.org and find the full documentation. Once you've done this, you'll need to go to themes on the left-hand side of WordPress and decide on the look. There are thousands of free themes that you can choose from, and all of them have previews that allow you to see roughly what the site will look like once you've filled it with content. And then you can go to plugins and again find thousands of plugins for different functionality. And once you've installed those things, you can then go to Customizer or Elementor if that comes with the theme, and slowly but surely build up and design your website. And given this is a roughly 10 to 15 minute video, I'm not going to go any more into detail than that because there are thousands of other videos on YouTube which will do just that. And what you can do in the meantime that's more important than that anyway is hit the subscribe button.